Hi, my name is Hannah Sragovich, and I'm a graduate student at Johns Hopkins University. As a future healthcare provider, I'm passionate about improving the patient experience of adults with autism. To start off this conversation, let's take a look at how one adult with a developmental disability has described his experiences with going to the doctor.
This is the artwork of a man named Michael, who has spent his life in the care of state-sponsored programs. I got to know Michael at a research center in Montreal, which explores the benefits of art therapy in the lives of adults with developmental disabilities. As I got to know the participants, I was amazed to learn about the variety of obstacles that people with autism face at the doctor. Recently, there's been a shift in the way that doctors are instructed to communicate with patients. Instead of relaying risks and options based on what a doctor thinks is relevant, there's more emphasis being placed on collaborative communication and shared decision-making. A doctor may not think a particular risk is relevant, while a patient may have never proceeded with a particular procedure in the first place if given that information. The goal is to ensure that the patient is giving informed consent. There are many challenges to promoting informed consent in the general population. For patients with autism, it can be even more challenging. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, approximately 1% of adults meet the criteria for autism. There are a variety of physical complications that are documented as co-occurring with autism spectrum disorder, such as epilepsy and metabolic syndromes, among others. More broadly, people with disabilities are much more likely to experience worse outcomes, delays in receiving health care, and the experience of a services cliff as they transition from childhood to adulthood, which refers to an abrupt shift in resources and support networks for adults as opposed to children. A survey comparing autistic to non-autistic adults reported that autistic adults experience greater unmet healthcare needs and lower satisfaction with participant-provider communication. Here are some personal accounts collected as part of a national study. Just because I might need more information to understand things, it doesn't mean they can or should just talk to me like a child or leave me without knowledge of my own health. My body is my body, and my experiences and wishes about my body are mine to make. Here's another one. I prefer and find it easier to communicate in text, but with every doctor I speak to, they wave away the note card and look at me to ask the same question I just answered and interpret my confusion as my being non-compliant with the medicine. I wish healthcare providers would read the notes I make for them. In a study by Zerbo et al., 77% of healthcare providers self-rated their knowledge and skills in providing care to autistic adults as poor or fair. Since adults in the autism spectrum can vary so greatly in their strengths and needs, it can make provider training very challenging. Dr. Andrew Gardner at the University of Arizona emphasizes this variety in his editorial about treating patients with autism. He says, if you've met one person with autism, then you've met one person with autism. So what can we do? Autism Speaks, a global organization, has a list of tips for going to the doctor. For example, they recommend that parents call ahead of time to explain to staff how to best accommodate their children. But what happens when that child grows up and has to go to the doctor by themselves? Here's an example of a questionnaire that's been developed with patients with autism in mind. The goal is for this information to be made available to the doctor prior to meeting with the patient so that they can best prepare. There are many great versions of this questionnaire being used across the country. One of the best researched and most widely used forms is the Autism Healthcare Accommodations Tool. It asks a variety of questions in multiple choice and free response form to help you share details with your doctor. The first question in the survey is, are you creating this report for yourself or for somebody else? This question brought up many other questions for me, such as, who's filling out this form? What's that process like? If the goal of this form is to promote patient autonomy, how does the process of actually filling out the form affect that? That's where my idea comes in, inspired by the Orange County Communities Organized for Responsible Development, a 501c3 community labor alliance organization in California. One of this organization's initiatives is to pair people in the community of Orange County with people who are in the process of applying for American citizenship. People meet in a large hall where they sit down with volunteers who help them navigate the process and the paperwork. I want to apply this model to the completion of these patient intake forms for people with autism. There are myriad community events all across the country. For example, the Friendship Circle hosts Dan's Place, a restaurant run once a week by volunteers with autism. If we can set up a peer-to-peer support network in which people with autism can help others fill out these patient intake forms, we can foster a sense of trust and understanding that can lead to greater patient autonomy. Instead of sitting with a caseworker, you're sitting with a friend, and the implicit understanding and trust between two peers is invaluable. So far, I have corresponded with Lenore Vosberg and Elisheva Green, who are experts in this area. I believe that with collaboration between different organizations, the logistics of bringing people together can be successfully established. I believe that the group setting is vitally important to the success of this endeavor to foster a sense of community and support between all involved. Testing this model would involve the assembly of a group of adults with autism who are interested in helping others fill out these patient intake forms. I believe this experience can be a rewarding source of satisfaction and pride for adults with autism who would like to help others in their community. It would next require the assembly of a group of people who would benefit from such collaboration. Finally, it would require a group of facilitators who are able to support all of those involved. Follow-up interviews with the patients and doctors would enable us to assess the impact that this process has made. Through research and partnership with a variety of national autism-related organizations, I believe that this peer support network can greatly change the patient experience of people with autism. Thank you very much for watching.